Hey everybody, Tyler with Meeple Mountain here with another board game review, this time from our friends at Floodgate Games for their game Vault Wars and the expansion Relic Roadshow. Did you ever grow up watching Storage Wars, perhaps watching people fight over the unknown contents of a storage container or a little storage space on the TV show where they would bid hundreds of thousands of dollars for something that may or may not be in there and they would have a good feeling about it? Did you ever think that that show needed a high fantasy theme? Well, if so, you're in luck because that's exactly what Vault Wars is. You take on the role, you and up to 5 players will take on the role of an aspiring hero who are trying to claim the vaults of heroes that passed away in the line of duty. Hero work is dangerous. And you're going to be trying to claim these vaults, really not knowing a lot of what's in there or what's in there at all. You might get to take a peek at a small amount of the items and the treasure troves, the armor, the weapons, the gems, the jewels, even dragon eggs that could be held in these vaults. But you're not going to really know what's in there. And so you're going to use the money at your disposal to bid and bluff against your opponents to try and claim the vault that you believe has the best loot. Now be careful, there's a lot of junk that could be in these vaults as well. So you're going to play over a series of rounds against your competition to get the most valuable treasure you have and be the most successful vault hunter at the end of a certain number of rounds. So let's go ahead and jump in and learn how to play Vault Wars. Vault Wars is a bidding and bluffing game for 3 to 5 players with some special 2-player variant rules as well that puts you again in this role of an aspiring hero. You're looking to claim the best lost loot and items that you can find throughout raiding all of the various vaults that are going to come up in the game, from weapons to armor sets to gems, all kinds of content. You're going to be looking through these vaults of deceased heroes to claim their treasures and make sure that you avoid the junk that is certain to clutter up the vaults as well. In a game, right now we have it set up for 3 players, and basically in every game you're going to be dealt 2 of these random aspiring hero cards. So you may be perhaps dealt this warrior and ranger card, and these may be your aspiring heroes. And at the end of the game, you're going to get to claim additional victory points for one of the 2 bonuses that these cards will lay out. So for instance, this player here at the end of the game could choose to claim the bonus for the ranger or the warrior, giving you additional points for every dwarven item or elven item that you've collected throughout the phase of the game. Now, at the start of the game, every player is going to be dealt their 2 aspiring hero cards, and they're going to be dealt 5 vault cards. Now, you as a table can agree to just keep these 5 cards, but the rules say that you can actually go ahead and draft these cards. So you could pick one and pass around until everybody has 5 vault cards in front of them. And the vault cards are very different. They're varied and have lots of options to them, but effectively they have 4 main components. They're going to show you how many items are in that vault in the red number. So for instance, this dwarven lockbox has 4. It's going to show you how many items would be revealed to the table when this vault comes out. So there's 4 items. One of these will be face up, revealed, so everyone knows a little bit about what's in this vault, but they won't have all the info. There's also going to be a peak value, and that is for each player, once a vault is revealed, they can choose one of the face down cards and can peek at that secretly. So when a vault goes up for auction, you as a player would know 2 of the 4 cards ultimately that are going to be in that vault for this particular one. Now, there's all kinds of different ratios of that, but that's the general idea here. A lot of times, the cards are going to have a special condition at the bottom that's going to say the winner of that particular auction, or perhaps the person who put it up for bid, the auction master, will get some form of a bonus or an item based on what these rules are. Little rule-breaking conditions that make each vault in the game of Vault Wars a little bit unique and asymmetric. I really liked that as well. So again, we've got items, we've got vaults, we've got your aspiring hero. The last thing we can talk about is an optional rule, which is workers, and I really like workers. Basically, workers are various individuals who are going to come out into play, and they offer all kinds of unique abilities. There's going to be a worker row if you want to play with workers, and they're going to range from a cost of 5 gold all the way to 1 gold. And every turn, you're going to have a choice to potentially pick up some of these workers, which are going to give you some unique timing abilities that you could play. It gives you a little more asymmetry in how you progress through Vault Wars. But let's go ahead and talk about how we actually bid on a vault. Now, in clockwise order, basically every player is going to take a turn as an auction master, putting up one of their vaults into place. Let's say I was taking the role of this character here. I'm going to look at my hand of vault cards, and I'm going to pick one to put up as the auction master. So say I chose to do this abandoned mine shaft. Well, I'm going to follow the rules here laid out as the auction master. I'm going to collect my items, and I'm going to put forward this vault as the vault that is in play. So again, in this 3-player game, my 2 opponents who are playing against me are going to have a chance to bid on this auction. So to start things off, I'm going to make an opening bid on how valuable I believe this location would be. Effectively, each player will have a vault that's ready to go, and they'll be an auction master as well. We'll look at these numbers here. We'll see the lowest number, so we'd actually start here with his gear chamber. But that player would put up their opening bid. Say that they said they want to put 7 gold towards it. Well, then, in clockwise order, the opponent here and then myself, we would both be able to bid, and we can continue to raise the bids beyond 7 if we so choose, back and forth until everyone has passed except one player, who would then buy this vault. Now, the interesting thing about Vault Wars is as the auctioneer, the auction master, you get to make the opening bid, but you don't get to bid again. So you couldn't jump back in. This player couldn't say, oh, actually, I want to make it 8 later down the road, or 9 or 10. Once you make your opening bid, you're out. So if you, as the auction master, really want an item, you have to think about how much everyone else might be willing to pay for it. But again, we would go back and forth until someone takes the highest bid. They would claim these items. They would claim this vault. They would put it off to the side. They would take the applicable items and figure out how to sort those out in their player area. We'll talk a little bit about that in a minute. And then play would continue on to the next player, which then would be the abandoned mineshaft. Now, I'm the auction master. I would put forward my opening bid. Let's say I said 6. And we would allow the other players to continue to bid back and forth. And you would go about this until every player has played one of their vault cards. After all 3 of this round's vault cards are complete, we would do a round cleanup, and then we would continue to play until there are no more vaults in play. We went through all the 5 cards in our hands. Then we would tally up all of the points that we have from the item cards themselves that we have chose to keep, as well as any vaults and any endgame bonuses that our characters have. Whoever has the most victory points at the end of the game is going to be crowned the Vault Kings, the Vault Wars King, and they will be victorious. Now, there are a few extra caveats as well. You'll notice there's this loan shark here. You can always go to him to get money if you have less than 12 gold to make sure you've got money to bid, but you got to be careful because you're going to get some corruption tokens when you do so, and corruption tokens are worth a set amount of negative victory points based on however many you have. If you have a lot of corruption, you're going to lose a lot of victory points at the end of the game. So you've got to be careful for that as well. Now, Vault Wars is, of course, all about the items that you're finding as you go and collect these vaults. And so I wanted to lay out a pretty good smattering of the items that you could expect to find within the vaults of these heroes. There's all kinds of different things, but the cards follow a pretty similar layout. So as you can see, we have gems, we have some weapons, armor, we have artifacts, which we'll talk about more in a second, we have dragon eggs, and then we have, of course, junk. All of the cards you'll notice on the bottom left have a printed gold values. Now, some cards, as you'll notice, are not worth any gold, and some are worth a great amount of gold to be sold. They can even be sold in sets to increase their total value. But these can be a great way to make income so that you can win additional vaults later throughout the game or pay for maintenance storage fees, which we'll talk about here in a second. This gem in the middle tells you how many victory points that item is worth at the end of the game if you've kept a hold of it. So as you can see, we have some weapon sets here that are worth usually 2, maybe a little bit more on the victory point side, but gems can be worth a great amount if you collect a bunch of them. And so they can really increase in value if you really sink in a lot of money to collecting gems. They can be very, very valuable. Armor sets are a great way to make money when you sell them, but you have to sell them in sets. So you may want to collect a shield and a helm and a chest plate and then sell those to turn in a really good amount of money. Again, weapons often are a great source of resource and victory points if you collect them. Now, I mentioned there are some things that you can equip, and that's these artifacts down here. And you'll notice that they have specific equip text. This Cursed Idol is one of my favorite cards in the game. They have all kinds of unique abilities that you actually, once you have that card, you're able to equip it and put it into play in front of you. Now, this doesn't count for a storage limit at this time. Then you actually are able to utilize this card in a special way that gives you an asymmetric edge over your opposition. Can be very, very helpful. We have dragon eggs. Dragon eggs are actually worth negative victory points if you have 1 or 2 of them, but they can be worth a lot of victory points if you have 3 dragon eggs. So you have to be really careful. There's not a lot of them floating around, but if you're able to collect all the dragon eggs, that can be a huge way to gain an advantage. And then also you have junk. Junk just really usually clutters things up, but there are some creative uses to junk if you're smart, and it doesn't cost a lot to store junk, so you can kind of load up on it to either distract your opponents and make them think you have a lot more items than you do, or trick them into maybe picking junk from you if there's some kind of a way that they could steal cards from you. But junk definitely can clutter things up if you're not careful. Now, as I mentioned, there's a storage fee. At the end of every round, you have to choose what items you've gotten from the vault that you want to keep and start hoarding for yourself for your own vault later. Any card that you keep is going to cost you a coin in storage fees every turn. So say I want to keep this bow. Well, that's fine. I can keep it, but I need to make sure I have the income to pay for it every round. So making sure that you have your income going, not just your victory point game going, is really important in Vault Wars. Now, as we mentioned before, we're not just showcasing the standard Vault Wars game, we're also talking about the new Relic Roadshow expansion that's coming to Kickstarter very soon from Floodgate Games as well. So I wanted to show off the content here that's available in this new expansion and talk a little bit about how it will affect gameplay in the core game of Vault Wars. There are some add-ons and expansions and even content changes that come out here with this expansion. So we'll start down here with your new starting game, in-game bonus cards. There are a set of aspiring villain cards now that come in the Relic Roadshow. So at the start of the game, you'll receive a aspiring villain card as well as an aspiring hero card. And at the end of the game, you can claim the bonus from either one of those cards. So you have the kind of the standard set collection bonus cards that are available to you, but you also have this villain option now, which gives you a very specific set of cards that you need to have collected by the end of the game. And if you have all those, you get a massive bonus of victory points. So it's nice to have those extra variety of options. There's kind of like a set collection and then a very specific quest goal that you can set out on as well as you play Vault Wars. Next, we have these set of starting perk cards that are actually geared up from the 7 deadly sins. We have greed, sloth, envy, all of those, and each player gets one of these at the start of the game. And these are basically asymmetric abilities that you can use as the auction master, as the bidder, or even sometimes after selling, trying to store cards. There's all these various options of when you can use this card. You can use them once per round, but every time that you do, you get a corruption token. Again, remember, corruption tokens become incredibly negative in victory points if you get a lot of them, but these powers can be very game-changing if you use them right and strategically. And so having these 7 deadly sin kind of powers out there as you play through a game of Vault Wars can be a huge, huge game changer. We also have new vaults. These vaults have some additional rules with them that bring relics into play. Relics are these cursed items that you will get, and they have some massive abilities, game-changing abilities, and so those can be incorporated into your game as well to shake up the way that you're playing for vaults. So you may have normal vaults, but you also can then start to look for these relic cards. So relics are these, as I mentioned, cursed items that will come out from a separate deck of cards that are in the new expansion, and they have all kinds of abilities. They still have a lot of times, their gold value and victory point value, but they have to be activated. They can be different types. There could be a junk weapon or all kinds of various things, but they will have a transmute cost. Now, some of these items will have a transmute ability, like an equip ability, such as this divine arsenal here, but they'll always have some kind of a transmute cost where they'll need a specific item or maybe multiple items to be activated and used. And if they have an ability, you can utilize that ability, which is oftentimes very, very powerful, but a lot of times they can just be a really powerful card that you'll need to get rid of items or junk or cards to then add this to your collection. They still have their normal maintenance and storage fees, but these cards can be incredibly powerful if you're able to cycle them, and utilize them effectively in your deck strategy. So all of this is packed into the Relic Roadshow expansion that is coming to Kickstarter very soon, and it adds a lot of strategic depth and new options and strategies as you play through a game of Vault Wars. And that is Vault Wars in a nutshell. I hope you guys enjoyed getting to look a little bit at the core game and the Relic Roadshow expansion that adds, honestly, a lot of content and depth to a really fun bidding and bluffing game. But what did I think about it? Well, I'm glad you asked. I really enjoyed getting to play Vault Wars. I'm a big fan of Bargain Quest, which is another kind of similar feeling game of just this high fantasy auctioneering shopkeep kind of feel. It's a theme that I really personally like, and so I was really excited when I got the opportunity to take a look at this title and just dive in and experience all that it had to offer. It's a small box game, in my opinion. Everything, including the expansion, all fits into the core box, which I think is really, really nice. It comes with this fun little magnetized thing. It's just a really quick, engaging, fun game. It's simple enough to teach. Now, there are a few little technicalities, since all of the vaults have unique abilities that you kind of have to be keeping track of and strategizing around. But this is a fun game that you could bring to a casual gaming event that everyone would have a really good time with. It's super fun and lighthearted. You can kind of try to play some mind games with people about the vaults being really good or really bad, but honestly, it's just a fun little auctioneering game where you're trying to do some set collection, if you really kind of distill it down to its purest elements. You could definitely get into some real mental games with it, but at its core, this is a really fun, fantasy-skinned game where you play Storage Wars. You're going in practically blind on these vaults, trying to hope you get lucky and hit big money. You know, I paid 5 gold for this and I got a full elven set, and it's just really cool. And really that's what you're trying to do, right? You're just having fun, rolling the dice, trying to get lucky and hit the jackpot on one of these vaults. And it's really fun. It's a really cool theme, and there's nothing quite like it on the market. And again, I grew up watching Storage Wars. I'm sure a lot of you did too. And it's just a fun take on that very silly concept, right, of like, I'm just gonna throw money at this random thing and hope there's a really cool treasure inside. And so if that sounds captivating or engaging to you, this will be a really, really fun little game for you. Now, with all that said, I mean, again, just to be clear, this is a light game. If you're expecting some deep strategy element here, that is not what Vault Wars is hitting you with. But it is a really fun travel-sized game that you could take to, well, it's COVID, but you could take to the pub with your buddies and play, or you could get together and just have a really nice time, casual gaming, playing through this. I think if you are a game collector like I am, this is one that fits into a really nice niche in your collection, and it's something that's fun to have. The cost point is great. It's not going to break the bank to pick this one up and add it to your collection. And again, I do have to say, I think the new expansion, Relic Roadshow, adds a lot of depth. I really do like the worker deck. I think that it adds a lot of depth of having those asymmetric abilities that you can kind of pop out when you need them. But having the relics and that 7 sins ability that you can use even to get corruption tokens, I think is really nice. Because in the core game, corruption tokens really don't come up too much. There's a few take that element cards that will hit you with them, and then there's the loan shark, but you don't really have to take them. There's not a big incentive to be like, oh, I want a corruption token because X, Y, or Z. With the expansion, that's not the case. There's a big allure of power with the corruption tokens, and I like that. I like that added element to it. So it's nice to have the option to play both ways, kind of the more simple, basic way, or really jumping in with the corruption, the kind of the risk-reward aspect there as well with Relic Roadshow. So all that to say, I really enjoyed my experience with Vault Wars. I would give this a 7 out of 10. It is a fun little bidding and bluffing auction game, and if you're looking for something like that, this is one that you will not want to miss. I think our partners at Floodgate Games did a great job. The production quality is super fun on this game, and it's got this really awesome box with the fun little magnetized flap here. It's worth mentioning that everything, including the expansion, just fits in this one box, which I love. Huge selling point there to me. So again, check out Vault Wars. It's a really fun addition. You will not be disappointed with what is in the box. What's in the box? Well, thank you so much for coming and checking out this review. I hope that you'll continue to come to Meeple Mountain for all of your board game content needs. And as always, happy gaming. Thanks for watching this video. I really hope you enjoyed it. Check out some of our other Meeple Mountain content. I promise you won't be disappointed. This is Tyler Williams, signing off.